Hey everyone, Trollbender here with Tech and Games. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have a 9070 RX 9070 that has been flashed to a 9070 XT BIOS. And we are going to basically tune that and see how far we can get on the benchmarks. Right now I'm just adjusting some things here. We are live. And we'll start with Furmark. I want to show you the AMD profile first here. I have a fan curve set. Everything else is disabled. So right now we are on a 9070 with a 9070 XT BIOS. If you don't know how I did that, watch my other video that just came out on how we achieved that. Anyway, we'll start off with Furmark. And we'll do the most popular test. All right, so this is stock Furmark. And we'll bench 1080p. And it's a 1-minute test. So if you're watching this on VOD, feel free to fast forward for a minute. I'll try not to talk through the entire thing. But as you can see, we are at 317 watts, well above the 9070's TDP. So you could tell the XT BIOS is in effect. Temps are looking good, 47 degrees Celsius, 77 on the hotspot. Not bad at all. And we're averaging about 329 frames per second. And I think I'm going to sneeze. Whew. All right. Spare you the sneeze. All right, this test is almost over. We'll get the stock 9070 with the XT BIOS, and we're at 19729. 19729. All right. 19729 stock. Stick. All right. Now let's do some tuning here. With these video cards, you want to undervolt. And I found a sweet spot somewhere between 85 and negative 85 and negative 90 millivolts. So we'll just do that. We won't mess with the VRAM. It doesn't go up much higher than 2505. And we have plenty of power, so we won't mess with the power. So now, negative 85 millivolts. Let's run this benchmark again. And right away, I'm noticing the clock is higher down here on the left. It's at 2500 instead of 2300. We're still at 319, 316 watts. Let's see if we can pass up a 9070 XT on the charts and maybe hit a 4080 or something. All right, temps a little higher, 50 degrees Celsius, hotspot 79. VRAM temps around 82, which isn't bad at all. Kind of up on the end of the test here at negative 85 millivolts on the tune. Again, running the XT BIOS on a 9070 regular. And 2521. Huge improvement. 2521. And let's look at scores. We hit 20,521. All right, on the charts. All right, so we passed a 9070 XT. We're at 20,000 521. So we're in between a 9070 XT and a 4080 Super. Actually, we're in between a 9070 XT and a 4080. See if we can get that number up a little bit higher. Now we're going to go negative 95 millivolts. Apply and run that bench again. And I see the clock's climbed to 2600, 2611. Wattage is at 317 again. That's XT wattage right there. Temps are still holding good at 50 degrees Celsius, 79 degrees on the hot spot. See if we can beat that 2005. Anti-aliasing is off. And we're running the latest drivers on this card. Flashing the BIOS was super easy. If you want to know how to do that, check out my latest video. All right, we did go up a little bit, 20,567. 20,567. That's a negative 95 millivolts. Well, should we push it further is the question. Let's try a negative 105. Run it again. Oh yeah, the core clocks are 2600 and above now. It just dropped down to 2590, 2600. So we are getting higher clock speeds out of this. Power holding strong at 316, 317 watts. And all the temps look good. This card runs really cold. It doesn't ever get really higher than 52 degrees Celsius, 51. And my fan speed's only at 87%. The model of the 9070 is the Asus Prime OC. Gaming, Asus Prime OC, and it's flashed with an Asus Prime OC XT BIOS. All right, 20,618. We did go higher. 20,618. Negative 105. Now, I don't really dare to go much higher on that. But if you look, we're near 4080 levels now. We're only 200 points below the 4080. Normal XT is down here. So we're close to 500 points above a normal XT. So not bad at all. Let's run a different benchmark here. Let's run superposition. And the 1080 Extreme is what I've been seeing everybody run. We'll put this back to stock. This one takes a few minutes, so get your coffee, folks. All right, let's run that. And I'll put up the graph so we could see the voltages and live frames per second. This is 1080 extreme superposition at stock. We're still running at 315 watts, so this thing just will gobble up power no matter what. But it's still less than the 5000 series NVIDIA cards. And I don't have sound enabled for this. Sorry, guys. It's piano and it's very sad. We're about halfway through. So flashing this BIOS was made possible by an article I saw on Tom's Hardware that led me to a new BIOS flasher that works on the 9000 series, and you can flash your BIOS to basically whatever you want, from 9070 to 9070 XT and backwards. I don't know why you'd want to do that. And one command line flashed it over. I restarted the computer. Well, I shut it down and then restarted it. And I now have a 9070 XT BIOS on the 9070. All right, we're on scene 12 of 17. It's one of the longer benchmarks. When we run it again, we'll just go straight to the negative 105 millivolts. See what kind of increase we get. You can actually dial down the power and make it run below 300 watts if you wanted to. Having it unlocked is really nice because you can dial down the power way further than you could dial up the power with just a 9070. But flashing the BIOS is scary, so I don't recommend it for everybody. All right, superposition, we got 13685. And that's stock. And now we'll just go negative 105 on the millivolts. And we'll run this again. We're just going to do 2 passes on this. The 9070 is a really good card, though. If you don't have NVIDIA money, I mean, the only cards I would recommend in NVIDIA would be the 5080 and the 5090, and those are 1,000 and 2,000 respectfully. But flashing the BIOS was pretty easy. One command line, but it's, I mean, if you get a power outage or a brownout or anything goes wrong, you break your card. If you have a dual BIOS though, that's really recommended. That way you have a safety catch. Basically, you can revert to the old BIOS, flash the corrupt one back, or try to flash it again. I forgot what the score was. I'm glad I wrote it down. And you can get up to 20% performance with the tuning that's going on right now. So it's for those who want to squeeze a little extra performance, maybe, you know, get a solid frame rate in ray tracing, or just get a solid frame rate in a game. But Trade-offs are instability. Sometimes you'll get a game that crashes. But a raw 9070 I think is a really good card. 16 gigs. The only 16 gig card on the NVIDIA side you're going to get is a 5080. All right, almost at the end of this benchmark. Yeah, they'll probably be super priced too. Ingredia, I like that. All right, last two scenes here. Come on. I'm not rebooting in between benchmarks, so sometimes these scores will end up a little bit lower. Testing earlier, some of my scores were higher in Firmark by 100 points, so I would call that the margin of error. 14175. And that's negative 105 millivolts. So we went straight for the, the cream of the crop there. 14175. We'll just look this up here. So we're higher than a machine running a 9070 XT with a 9800 X3D in it. My processor is only an Intel 13700, so we're higher than that. And that's a new score. Not bad. I'm really liking this flash. So far, there's not been any instabilities. What else we got? Let's do some time spy. Bring this back to stock. All right, time spy time. Scanning system info. It's going to take a minute here, apparently. These guys know how to make a splash screen. All right. Load the benchmarks. And we'll go right to time spy. And we're at stock. Yes. Let's give that a run. Yeah, you can undervolt to negative 85 millivolts safely with that card and not have to touch anything else. You may want to bump the power like 2-3%, but unless you're having stability issues, you probably won't have to. But yeah, undervolting is the way to go on these cards. All right, let's load this demo here, guys. This thing is sipping power now. I don't have the sound going. I wish this would just jump right into the benchmark, but this apparently is 1440. Yeah, that's what before I flashed the BIOS, that's what I was running at like daily. It's negative 85 millivolts, and it didn't touch anything else. And I wasn't having any crashing. I'll be sure to set the sound on the next pass. Intense music. I'll describe the music. Lots of drum beats. It's quiet now. No, I won't describe it. Make sure you run the latest drivers though. Oh yeah, I tested a couple games and getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20% on some games, and more intense games like Cyberpunk, I'm getting 5 to 10%, sometimes 12% increase. But I run frame generation on single player games just to make it smoother, and there's really not any noticeable lag. All right, so I went through that. Now it's actually loading the graphics test. All right, 316 watts, 2800 megahertz. And it's only using 3.7 gigs of VRAM. And as usual, the temp is nice and low. I don't know if it's my setup or what, but the temps on this card are insanely low. My NVIDIA 3080 would run in the high 70s in the same setup. All right, graphics test 2. All right, a lot more of the same, 2800 megahertz. I have seen people in the forum flashing non-OC BIOSes successfully, so I'm not sure. To be honest, I'm not 100% sure, but it should work with non-OC BIOS. But I would probably read more in the forums. You want to get the OC. It's only a couple bucks more anyway. Doing good, averaging 152 frames, max at a 199, which may be the max of this benchmark. I'm not sure. I think there's one last test here, and we can collect our result. This is the CPU test. We can just ignore this. We're really looking for the graphics numbers here. All right, we're getting our result 27749. That's on the graphics, and that's at stock. Time spy. All right, so we want to beat 27749. Let's load this up here. Negative 105 millivolts. All right, that's loaded. And I'll let you guys hear this time. If that works. Not sure. Back to Time Spy. and we're going to run it. So we got to beat 27749. We are loaded, tuned up. This one is the longer of the tests. Next, we'll do Steel Nomad. So we've already done Furmark. We went from 19729 to 2608. Excuse me, 2618. Superposition, we went from 13685 to 14175. And now we're doing Time Spot. And it got a little off center to full screen here, but it shouldn't affect it too much. Okay. Not sure what I did there. All right. 27749. Try this one more time. So again, that XT BIOS on the non-XT card is working out really well. We haven't had a single crash, and the heat issues are non-existent. All right. Oh, sound's not working for you guys. Okay. Put up that graph. Yeah, there's going to be minute differences in the cards, especially OC models versus non-OC models. But this definitely unlocks the power, and I've seen it go as high as 3.3 gigahertz up in the upper right. And that's without the any heat issues. All right, intense music, lots of drumming, and it's quiet with some crazy ass noise. And if those of you watching want to know how I flashed my 9070 to the 9070 XT, my latest video will show you just that. Pretty easy to do. Don't recommend it if you're new at doing that shit. But it is a one command line. You have to download a BIOS of your choice. But so far, I've seen a lot of good things and a lot of failures, not dead cards, but just the flash not working for some people. I don't have a lot of experience with the 9060 XT. I would probably go with a 9070 to be honest, and upgrade. You're going to get a lot more cores, a lot more TMUs. It's just a beefier card, and you can always flash it to the XT. I love this GPU. I was going to go NVIDIA. I've been an NVIDIA fan for a very long time. And the 5000 series with their prices and the whole AI multi-frame shit, I mean, these cards do multi-frame generation or frame generation as well, but I only use it in single player games. But yeah, I would highly recommend this card, to be honest. Especially now with the flasher available, where you can get a little extra performance if you're one of those guys like me. All right, that test's over with. Second graphics test. Yeah, I have a two 3060s in this household still and a 3070. So this is the only AMD card in the house, but it's in my rig. So, but yeah, the prices should keep coming down on those cards. Hopefully, tariffs aren't affecting it too much. Still looking good. I've seen it go as high as 319 watts now in the upper right. And we're stuck at 3 gigahertz now, 3100. You know, it's not a bad deal to get a 9060 XT, especially if you're not playing games where you want to do ray tracing or, high frames 1440. Yeah, the performance on these cards, the day I got it versus today, which I got it on launch, the drivers have increased frames dramatically, at least by 10-15%. I look back on some of the older videos and the results are a lot higher now in some of these games and some of the benchmarks. Hey, 1080p still looks good, especially if you got HDR. All right, what's the result here? 28.8. So wow, 28,884, and that's at negative 105 millivolts. So we went from 27,749 to 28,884. That's a pretty nice jump in performance just by tuning the voltage and of course the XT BIOS. Let's try some Steel Nomad now here. Run it back to stock. All right, we're gonna run Steel Nomad at stock now. Hey, what's up there, Fazak? Yeah, it is a pretty good jump. I had some numbers earlier when I was testing before the video, and they were actually a little bit higher. I think it's because I'm not restarting the benchmarks or just starting with a fresh desktop. But still a nice jump. Yeah, I don't see myself getting a new card for a while with this 9070, especially souped up with the XT BIOS. This is great. All right, we're running Steel Nomad. Stock settings with the XT BIOS. Yeah, the 3060 was the sweet spot in the 30 series. I had a 3080 and I love that card to death. I really didn't want to sell it, but when I sold it, it made this 9070 only cost me $200 when it was all said and done. So it was a $200 upgrade to the 9070 for the 38 from the 3080. But yeah, I have a couple 3060s and one is in the living room and that drives Madden and a few other games out there and it runs beautifully still. Steel Nomad, all right. So stock, we're at 63.68 on the score. Now let's go right to negative 105 millivolts. And I have my fan curve set really laxed, and it still keeps this card cold. All right, we're going to run this now again. Where's that at? Steel Nomad. Here we are. Oh, 7900 XT. That's a nice card. Got some text there. Sorry about that. 3080 Ti is actually still a good card right now, really. I was trying to find a 3090, but the prices were still insane on those things at the time. But yeah, 3080 Ti would be the card to get in the 30 series if you could. If you couldn't get a 3090. I was looking at the 7900 XTs before the 9070 came out as well. All right, Steel Nomad, how we doing here? Forget how long this bench is. Yeah, that's a great deal. 7900 XT is a really good card. Should last you a while. I'd get it too. I think we'll test the Cyberpunk benchmark after this. All right, what's this result? Got to beat 6368. 6719. That's at negative 105 millivolts. Wow, so nice jumps across the board, across all the synthetic benchmarks with the 9070 and the 9070 XT BIOS and tuned. So that's nice. I like that. Now let's put this back to stock and check out the Cyberpunk benchmark here. This could be hit or miss. I've already kind of tested this, but we'll see. Yeah, 24 gigs or VRAM. You probably don't need that for a couple years. All right. All right, let's run this benchmark here. See what we're set at currently. All right, currently we're at we've got frame generation enabled, native AA. So let's disable frame generation. I'm going to just do super res and native AA. Everything else, no ray tracing. Everything else is at high. Run that benchmark here. Wow. Did you just software mod it or did you hardware mod it? All right, so this is native AA, no frame generation, and stock. $150, $140. 316 watts. 3 gigahertz. Oh, nice. Linux flash method. All right, what do we get here? 122.92. 122.92. All right. Now we're going full blown back to negative 105 millivolts. We're going to run this again. All right, native AA. Frame generation off. Run. Confirm. Wow, it sounds like you did a lot of modding. Did you end up selling that card modded? All right, core clocks are up at 3.17. VRAM usage is closing in on 10 gigs. Ah, I gotcha. I'm gonna end up selling this card with the BIOS flash on it. It'll probably be worth more. Looks like we're doing good here. We're getting more frames, I can tell. After this, we'll do the frame generation test, see how many frames we can get total. Looks good too. This is at 1440p with everything at high. 125.70. So we're at 122.92. Now we're at 125.70. All right. Now we're going to enable frame generation and FSR quality. It says to restart, so we'll restart. It's the longest screen to get to exit. Quit. All right. All right, so go back to stock. And now we'll do that with frame generation. That should show the max of this card here. With the tuning, without the tuning. We're going to do both. Come on. Appreciate everybody watching me go through all these benchmarks. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Settings, graphics. All right, frame generation, texture quality high. No ray tracing. Everything else is at high. We're in fidelity, super res, quality with frame gen. And this is at stock on the XT BIOS. 303 has been the highest frames per second. Looks really good. Frame time is really low, 3.2 milliseconds. Temperature looks good at 52 degrees. 72 on the CPU. I have seen a lot of that in forums of the BIOS flashing to the higher end. And AMD's done it once again. All right, what's the result? 287. All right. 287. Let's try to beat 287, negative 105. Run that benchmark one more time. Can we beat 285? We're at 297. And it's dropping. Dropped around that corner. Remember, this is at 1440p, everything at high. No ray tracing. Should I do ray tracing too? All right, the result is $285. So roughly the same. Huh. That is interesting. Should I do ray tracing? Let's try ray tracing. Path tracing off. Apply. All right. Ray tracing at stock. Don't usually play this in ray tracing. I forget what to expect. Wow. $150 frames per second with ray tracing, 1440p, and frame generation. FSR quality. Holy shit. Here's the part where we come up on this puddle. This should take a hit right here. No, it went up. Nice. Wonder what the tune result's gonna be here. $166. All right. Back to negative 105 millivolts. And we'll run this one last time. 166. We got to be 166. See if this voltage mod affects this score here. We got to be 166. So far, it's not looking like it's happening. 1440 ray tracing, FSR quality. 316 watts. So this card, the whole time they are testing, has been hovering around 317 watts. Seen it as high as 320. So I may have to dial down the power just slightly because it's wasting power right now. 166. $173. All right. So with ray tracing enabled and the negative 105 millivolts on the tune, we've got 173 over 166. Not bad. I think I might play it in this with these settings now. That's incredible. All right. We've now seen what the 9070 flashed to a 9070 XT BIOS and tuned. We've now seen what that can do. If there's any other games you want me to test in, leave those in the comments. That was all the demos and all the... I wish I could test Battlefield 6, but it's not out yet. Anyway. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'm so glad you got to see me test this and tune it out. Leave those questions and comments below. And I love you, people.